every other asshole on earth wants to, come around after there's tremendous success and there's, big things are happening. It's too late. You should have been there before. It was like, somebody wants to pay the Series A price in a Series D fundraising. It's like, is that how that works? You should have been there before. So one of my venture capital professors, he said Starbucks was on his desk 4 times over his career. And he says the first time they had 5 stores, and Howard Schultz was there in person asking for a $20 million valuation in the 80s, asking for $20 million for 5 coffee shops. And my professor was, Harvard MBA, highest honors Harvard undergrad, highest honors Harvard MBA. And he said, how the f do I pay $4 million for a coffee shop? So what would it cost me to go build 5 coffee shops? So, what would it cost me to have 5 coffee shops? Not $20 million. You build a hell of a coffee shop for $1 million a piece. So he said, how do I invest in that? And then it comes back later, and I don't know the numbers later. I know that was the first number. And then it comes back a second time, third time. By the third time, Howard don't have time to be there in person to ask for the money anymore. Howard's too busy. It's not Howard Schultz there anymore. So I had a situation like that with Airbnb. I sat at a table 2010 or so with, long story short, I went to a conference. These couple guys talk on stage. They're pretty haphazard. They're a little disjointed and haphazard and sloppy. Seem like nice guys, seem pretty sincere, seem like they want to go do something, but is, very sloppy presentation, very disjointed. Said, well, we're kind of renting these apartments in New York, and we got some apartments and we're renting them on an app and, this website and so on and so on. And they're talking about some promotional things they did in Denver and some other promotional thing they did somewhere else. And in my head, I'm like, what's that got to do with your New York real estate and so on, which I was right. But I talked to them afterwards. What they said at the thing, so, be really awesome. There's a lot of smart people here, and, some of you know a lot of things that we don't know. And, I'd love to talk to you afterwards if, while we're at this multi-day event together, if you have time, but, love to, chat and learn and whatever. I have lunch with the guys the next day. And it's more disjointed. It's just, you couldn't give these people money. But at the time, if I would have given them money, I would have owned, 20% of Airbnb for, $500,000. I had the money. So maybe for $500,000, I'd own 20% of Airbnb, and even if that got diluted a lot, if I didn't continue to invest and that got diluted a lot, and maybe I owned 4% today instead of 20%. I don't know what their current valuation is, but anybody here have a clue as to what their current? They were talking $50 billion a while ago. So, what's that?
65 billion.
65. What's 5% of 65 is about 3.25, huh? I didn't even want that $3 billion. If I get that $3 billion, I wouldn't even be here with these gold chocolate coins. How nice are these chocolate coins? They're fun, aren't they? If I would have had that $3 billion, I wouldn't even made these chocolate coins. Wouldn't have had time. So, I miss that $3 billion more than I miss my dead mom. And then I got to hear people constantly talk to me, Airbnb, Airbnb, Airbnb. I got to hear that name for the rest of my life, I'm like, all right. But if you sat at that table and you had a conversation with the same people that I did, you wouldn't give them money either. You couldn't. You just couldn't. But that became Airbnb, and Starbucks became Starbucks, and we're doing whatever we're doing. But I don't mind talking about the business model because it's totally appropriate for what we do here, talking about entrepreneurship, investment, negotiation, et cetera. But what do I got to do? I got to raise my value. I got to raise my bet now. And that's exactly what we've been talking about this week. And you're going to go doing this current negotiation. And so, 10 Commandments brought in a lot of new people. How many people are in the room? There's a few of you. And as I said, 10 Commandments came out 5 months ago. But there's a few of you in the room, or at least a couple, that you're here because of 10 commandments. Who came here because of 10 commandments? So 3 already. That came out 5 months ago. Now you think about the way that this business is set up, that the majority of people, how many of you went through all 3 courses? Look around, look behind you. All right. So the way that whole model is set up is a person goes to any one of those 3 courses, and they tend to take the other 2. And then they're allowed to come back and go through them a second time as observers. That's 15 months. Somewhere in the process, if they did that, a lot of those people migrate to the mastermind group. By the time they show up here, that's going to be a year and a half. That's going to be somewhere like, 15 months, 24 months, something like that. You see why that makes sense? What do you think that's going to look like when we hit that 24 months from now? Or 24 months from when that program came out? There's going to be a lot more people. Do you think that I'm reaching every single person in the world that we would like to have in the room? It's not possible. It's not that I don't want to make friends with more people. I don't have the time. You came across me at a time, 8 years ago, as you said, 8 years ago yesterday. You came across me in a situation where, I had more time on my hands. I had, just a few million, maybe I had $4 million at the time, $4 million. Things were pretty calm. Nothing wild happened in the stock market at that time in my life. I had a couple little real estate projects. I had a pretty calm time in my life then. So I was traveling around, having a bit of fun. I don't have time like that anymore. How many of you, as you get older, you have less and less time because you have so many better opportunities, then you just don't have time to chill? Yeah, most people here would have that. And the younger ones, that's what's going to happen, by the way. If you're in your 20s now, how's that going to look later? Jeff, Steve, Randy. What's it going to look later when they're in their 30s and 40s? They're going to have more free time? No, you have better quality options, huh? So you have less free time.
Some people are confused. They say, Derek, what is the 10 Commandments of wealth? Not the 10 maybes of wealth. It's the 10 core things that you're going to need to know about in detail if you'd like to accumulate significant wealth in your lifetime. Click this link up here to find more information exactly what is the 10 Commandments of wealth, how is the program structured, what's inside of it, how are you going to benefit from it. If you're doing well already and you'd like to do better, click that link and find out more. There's over 100 hours of content in this program. I've interviewed dozens of world champions that shared what it took for them to win, to be the top Hall of Fame athletes in their respective areas. And I brought a lot of other superstars in there from business, from legal, people that are real world entrepreneurs that made serious money, as I have myself. We all share with you what are the foundations you're going to need to know if you want to be successful yourself. Be a chooser, not a loser. Click that link, find out more. I'll see you inside.